We are back with Metro Vice-Mayor Jim Shulman on MorningLine, streaming live on Facebook at newschannel5.com, and the number on the screen. Well, it's down now because we have lots of calls. Before we try to squeeze in a few more calls here and some comments, I know that the mayor is expected to present his budget, and as we've already reported, it seems pretty clear he's going to ask for what I think most would agree is a very substantial property tax increase. Just tell us a little about that and the timetable involved real quick so we can get to some calls.
So if you remember, he was going to give it to us on March the 31st, and then everything changed, and so he did a State of Metro address, but then he extended and didn't give us the budget yet. He has until April the 30th, the end of this month, to actually give it to us. We expect him to give it to us on April the 29th because there's a filing deadline, so we expect to actually see the document the 29th. It's my understanding at this point that he's probably going to present it to the council on the 28th of April, so next week. So be prepared, be aware. You heard him say at the State of Metro address that significant property tax increase. We're going to look through it. We have 2 months to work through it. We plan to hear from people, so it's coming.
Okay, let's go next to Dolores, I believe. Oh wait, no, let's see. That's Tony. Tony, go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, good morning, Nick.
Hi, Tony.
Good morning, Mr. Shulman.
Hey, Tony.
I thank you for everything you do when you come on the show and give people wise advice on how to circulate and what to do. The problem I got is when the mayor asked for this raise, he really hasn't done nothing since he's been in office. He hasn't paved no roads out here in East Nashville. East Trinity Lane is a terrible mess. A lot of roads downtown. And I can't believe that the federal government, the funds, is not going to be trickling down like they trickle up.
That's kind of what he was saying in the State of the Metro. He made it very clear that, you know, help is not really coming from the federal government, so that's one reason he has to ask for this large increase. So Tony's really big on infrastructure, and so the monies that is going to come in, and we know things they were tight before this hit.
Right.
So what's it going to be spent on? And
so, you know, part of what the mayor ran on was trying to get all this stuff squared away in terms of the budget. He came into office and had this $42 million shortfall, this hole in the budget, so he had to clean that up. So he was prepared. I mean, at least we were looking for that budget in March to try to figure out what he wanted to do next year. You know, obviously people were concerned about salaries, concerned about infrastructure, all these different things, but the city was in a big budget hole coming into this mess, and then all of a sudden here comes the tornadoes, and here comes COVID-19, and then we're in a bigger budget mess. So we'll see what he comes up with. But I mean, the priorities have always been education, public safety, infrastructure. Those are the things that are really, really important, and particularly we've been discussing this for the last 3 years. I want to make sure we cover our teachers and the police, firefighter, Metro employees, those people who are our frontline.
Can the city do anything for small businesses? I know, and I'm getting a lot of comments here, and I know they're frustrated with what the process is with the feds, and especially after the tornado. But what can we do for small businesses here? And there's so many of them in this city.
Well, so let's just kind of lay it out as to how this happened. So the city was in a tight budget situation going into all this stuff. So, you know, if we had had giant rainy day funds, we might be seeing more efforts in terms of trying to put money back into helping small businesses. It's the federal government that seems to be doing that through these small business administration loans, but some people are having trouble. So it's been really, really interesting to watch.
Yeah,
they ran out of money, and now they're looking at it again.
Right.
And the question was, who got that money? And did small businesses get it? What happened to it?
You know what the problem is, and hopefully the city can handle this better, is that it's such a big thing that happens so fast. Some of the regulation and supervision wasn't there, because what we know is lawsuits have already been filed against some major banks that chose, because they could make more interest right off the bat, to make larger loans to some of the larger businesses, which meant the smaller ones that really needed it didn't get the money. And that was a problem. And it's not really to blame anyone. It's just that money came so fast and went out so fast. No one was really able to regulate it because they had to get it out quickly. You're darned if you do, and you're darned if you don't.
I feel really, really sorry for a lot of the people who really tried very hard to get these loans.
Right.
I feel sorry for the people who are helping them get their loans or trying to help them get it, and then other businesses came in, and then the whole system sort of just, I heard it like was crashing, and then it ran out of money. Okay, so one of the things I would say, Nick, is that during this period of time, I hope that somebody is making notes. I know we are within our office of what went right and what went wrong. Okay, so this goes back to Tony's point. I think the mayor said it very clearly. The federal government is not going to come on a big, shiny white horse and save us. There's a lot of money that obviously got put out there. I don't know how much is coming to Metro. I know that we can get access to about 120 million, but our hole is much larger than that. And so when they gave out the money, they tied it to COVID-19. Understand that. But COVID-19 actually drained the city's resources, and I'm not sure how much of that money we can use for clearing up this budget mess. So we're stuck. Already a bad situation, that much horribly worse. And I know the mayor is working through this every day. What a difficult situation for him.
Let's go to Bob. Bob, good morning. Hi, Bob.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I noticed that Channel 5 did a report back in November, I believe it was, 2019, that Families First, where there was $730 million left over. It was reported on the port report. And it looks like to me that the national government would read that port report more often, and the fraud and stuff in government that it reports, and could come up with the extra money and see the waste that's being wasted.
Look, I don't disagree, but against the hole that we're at now, you can look at the pork report and some of those monies, but that's a drop in the bucket of what we're facing right now.
Yeah, so I think I understand what he's saying, and that TANF money is in the state, so it's not in the city. Everybody tries to be really careful. I know that we're starting to get calls and saying, you know, you always try to take care of this on the backs of taxpayers and property taxes. We have one of the lowest property taxes I know in the state.
Right.
We haven't raised it. We didn't raise it 3 years ago. We have to be responsible in what we do. Nobody likes property tax increases, but we have to be responsible. We'll see where we go. We have 2 months of discussions on this. I know that the city has been has tried to be very careful in terms of its management over the last several years when we realized we had a problem. But things have tightened up pretty seriously. And you've got people yelling at us because we can't give raises, and we didn't give raises to the police and firefighters 2 years ago, or the teachers or Metro employees, and that was a promise that we couldn't make because we didn't have the money.
And that was before all this, of course.
That was before all this.
And now all bets are off. Well, listen, Tom here makes a very good point here, I think, on Facebook. You know, a lot of people posting, you know, feelings about whether things should open or not. And he's like, listen, small businesses owners and people without jobs, their livelihoods being destroyed, and he's right. And that's absolutely awful. And that there has to be a balance. And I think that's hopefully what the governor and what the mayor here is going to seek. If we have to open slowly now, and we can debate whether it's too early or not, and I think a lot of people feel it is, but if you're going to do it, there's got to be ways businesses, certain ones, can safely open, as long as people show some personal responsibility and separate, but can safely open, and we can get people back to work so they can feed their families and pay their rent. Which, by the way, the mayor or the sheriff was on yesterday, Vice-Mayor, and he says that for whatever reason he's still getting eviction notices coming from the clerk's office that come in for people who haven't paid. But he has said, at least in Metro Nashville, his sheriff's deputies will not be evicting anyone while we're in this coronavirus, and he's dead right on that.
So I would say everybody has to be really cognizant of everybody else at this point. You see great stories, and you see really sad stories. Everybody's suffering through this. So everybody has to kind of step up and be a little bit more understanding. And I know there's a lot of stress out there. We're all feeling it. But you know, you don't want to evict. I mean, why would you want to evict somebody? We know that people have lost their jobs because of this thing. If we do what we're supposed to, and we get through this, and businesses start opening up, and people start coming back, and we're careful, and we watch our numbers, maybe we'll be okay. We'll eventually be fine. We just have to get to that point. And again, I would remind people that May the 1st does not mean that the virus has gone away. It's still there. just means that we got to be that much more careful.
That's right. And I'm hearing from a lot of business owners themselves who say, look, they're concerned that it's coming back too early, but they want to get back to work. They're hopeful, and they're going to put things in place, Jim, that they can responsibly open. And I applaud them. If that means their restaurant's starting to fill up, they're going to put a cap on how many people can come in and the table's separate. And that's wonderful. And make sure their employees have the safety. And I want to see that happen because I want to see people get back to work. And I'll be going to some of these establishments as long as I feel they're safe. Right. And that's the other point of this. Just because any order is lifted by the governor or the mayor doesn't mean I have to do anything. I can make my call for myself, and I'm not going to do anything until I personally am convinced it's safe. And when I do go out, I'm going to be as responsible as I can to protect everyone else. And, you know, wearing those masks, it's not so much to protect me, as you know. That's in case, gosh forbid, I am an asymptomatic carrier. I don't want to give it to Jim Shulman, or I don't want to give it to an elderly friend that lives next door to me if I happen to run into them. So that's what it's about, being personal responsible. And the problem is, folks, even with those orders in place, Jim, people were not being that way. There were far too many people just out and about. There just were. And now with this being lifted, there's going to be even more. That's my concern. All right, listen, we'll be watching today when the mayor has his speech. We'll see you again next week, right, Jim?
That's right. I'll be back.
Appreciate it. Metro Vice Mayor Jim Shulman. And, of course, give your number out. I know that you always take that if people have questions for you.
Sure. 615-584-1082. 584-1082. You're always welcome to call me.
Thank you again, my friend. We'll take a break. I'll be back with a programming note about tomorrow right after this.